Hi, and welcome to the Author's Lighthouse podcast, helping writers and emerging authors navigate the choppy waters of publishing. I'm your host, Karen Schober, indie author and author consultant. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Author's Lighthouse. Today, we're going to be talking about parts of a book. Now, normally when we talk about books and their parts, we think about the craft of creating the book or writing the story or content within. But today we're actually going to discuss the parts of the physical book and how they are put together to create a printed book. Before we dive into the parts of the book, let's discuss the types of printing. There are three main kinds: offset, digital, and POD, or print on demand. Offset printing is what most of us think of when we are printing. These are massive printing machines that take up an entire building sometimes with the presses and the conveyor belts. The paper is usually fed on colossal rolls of paper. And this is usually the method used by larger printers for mass market books that have print runs in the thousands or more. Even if you have an order for several thousand copies, you still might get your project bumped from the production schedule for a larger print project in one of these houses. When Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, was launched in 2018, it overwhelmed the printing world. Every major printing house in the world bumped her book to the front of the line to try and meet the consumer's demand. While this was great for the smaller printing houses that were not contracted to print her book to get their clients' books out on time, it derailed others, including those with big traditional publishing contracts, destroying their marketing campaigns and annoying those customers. Digital printing can vary in quality of printing, but it is ideal for smaller print runs and print-on-demand printing. Depending on the print shop, the method of the printing will determine the overall quality. The best way I have found to describe the difference is to relate it to home printers. At home, people usually have either an inkjet printer or a laser printer. The inkjet is faster and cheap to produce, but the ink can run and smear. The laser jet uses toner instead of ink, and the heat sets it. If you are looking for a printer and they are using digital printing, it is a good idea to invest in a proof copy of the book before a production run is made to make sure you're getting the quality you expect. When choosing a print-on-demand printer, it is difficult to spot check the print quality when larger POD companies like Amazon or Ingram are used. They often have many off-site printers that contract for the print fulfillment. Those companies usually have a good replacement policy, so if the copy does get butchered, the customer can easily get a replacement. Smaller POD companies might do all the printing on site, but having worked for one, look out for words like our other print facility, which really means they might outsource the print work to a larger print shop and therefore have less control over the print quality and consistency, or they might outsource the printing if there are printing issues in-house. So let's start with the most basic part of the book, the page. One page of the book is one page of content. When calculating how big the book will be, you might be asked to input the number of pages. It is easy to get confused about this single question. Do we count content pages? How many pieces of paper? Do we include blank pages? The writer's mind can continue to ask questions to complicate this very basic question. For publishing and printing, the number of pages is the number of content pages, blank or not. In the entire book, it is not the slices of paper in the book. There are 2 pages for every piece of paper. Simple enough, but it is easy to get confused and quickly. The content of the book is usually sent to one printer, while the cover is sent to another. even if the content has color images inside. Different paper is used and therefore needs to be done separately. Some printers use large sheets of paper and others use rolls, but the content is laid out for maximum efficiency on the paper, and depending on the number of copies being printed, several projects can run at one time. This is especially the case with print on demand, where only a single copy or two of the book could be printed. It is the print shop's best use of their resources to batch similar jobs in the printing regarding both time and physical resources. Once out of the printer, the pages are cut to the page size called trim size. Get it? They trim it to that size. It took me a while to get that concept. When all the pages are printed and stacked up at the print shop, that is called the book block. With the current technology, this process is usually the same process for both hardcover and paperback books, unless the paperback is stapled like many children's books are. Sometimes it might look like there are separate sections in a book. Those are called signatures. Signatures are like mini book blocks that are folded in half or glued before being added to the entire book block for binding. Offset printing can use this method more than digital printing. Like I said, the covers are getting printed separately. They are printed on heavier paper than the content of the book, but for hardcovers, the cover is printed on thinner paper than a paperback book would be. This is where the book path gets different. For softcover or paperback, or also called perfect bound books, the cover is printed and then the finish is applied by a laminator, giving the book either the matte or gloss finish through a protective film. The covers are then trimmed, but still lay flat until they are matched up with their book blocks. The cover is folded around the book block and glued, and a final trim, the book is ready to be packed up and shipped. Hardcovers, or case-bound books, are more complicated than paperback books because there are many other steps to getting the book finished. The cover art is printed onto paper, usually less thick than the paperback cover, and when the book block is complete, the cover has a stiff cardboard glued to the back of the cover. These are 3 pieces of stiff cardboard that is added: the front, the back, covers, and the spine, and there will be some space between each to fold around the book block. The stiff cardboard is now covered with a sheet of paper cut just to cover the cardboard and the edges of the cover. Depending on the print shop, this can be a decorative piece of paper, but it is usually white. Before the advances in color printing, it was common for hardcover books to be covered with fabric or leather, and some books are still covered this way. While there are print companies that still do offer this, it is usually more cost-effective in larger quantities, in the thousands or even more. The final part of a hardcover book is the dust jacket. It was once used to protect the cloth or leather covers, but with hardcovers most likely being adhesive case wrap, where the printed cover is literally wrapped around the stiffer cardboard, it has become more decorative or for prestige. The dust jacket can have the same cover art as the case wrap or not. It would depend on the printer's requirements or the author's preferences. But it is not the same file. The case wrap cover file will have a larger bleed area. Bleed is the extra area allowed for minor variances in the printing process. The larger bleed for a hardcover is needed to wrap around the stiff cardboard. The dust jacket will have bleed more similar to the paperback cover with some differences. On the dust jacket, besides the front, back, and spine areas, there are end flaps that usually have the book blurb and either an author bio or publisher info. It is common to have the back cover blank or with some kind of cool art or reviews instead of the book blurb, since it will be on the end flaps. But this is up to the publisher or author during the pre-production, creation, and layout processes. In many print-on-demand and digital printers, it is usual practice to have the dust jacket wrapped around the book by hand by real people before it is packed up for shipping. When I worked for a self-publishing company, we had our own print shop, which was like a wonderland to me. I loved walking by to see all the machines and various steps needed to create our clients' books. Seeing the individual pieces of the book staged for the next step was a peek behind the curtain to me, and it never ceased to amaze me how many hands actually touched each book before it was boxed out and ready to go to the customer. We were a smaller shop at the time, and I can only imagine what the process would look like at a larger print shop or offset printing facilities. Yes, less hands involved, but higher output is much higher too. One thing to keep in mind about printing: if you are looking for large quantities or special printing like full color or other features, be prepared to have companies ship the project overseas. While this might be more cost-effective if the production run is large enough, dealing with international printers, many of them in China, if that's an issue for you, can lead to other variables like weather and import issues, cultural issues like China shutting down for 2 weeks to celebrate their New Year, political issues between your country and where the book is being printed. If going this route, please add in extra time for the project for what one of my professors would call the unknown unknowns. And that is the basic view of the parts of the book and the printing process.
It helps users create stunning and intuitive designs that can be used for social media posts, website graphics, and even printed materials. Users can do anything from graphic designs to video editing. To check it out and get your own free account, go to partner.canva.com/AHL and start designing right away.
This word of the week is hook. So what is a hook? A hook is a short statement that attracts readers. It is usually short and gets right to why the reader would like the book, article, or whatever it is. With books, it's usually no more than 2 or 3 sentences max to make the hook of the book. Kind of like, think of the limit of a tweet. It is used in marketing for the book and has information about the book boiled down to let the reader know what the genre is and the basic plot or tropes used. I have used hooks for Amazon and Facebook ads, and in those ads, it is a great way to test several versions of the hook to see which ones attract the most attention. There are several approaches to creating a hook and several types. You have the most common ones are quote, question, statistic, and antidote. The question hook could be summed up as, have you ever, fill in the blank. It's a type of question giving the reader a visual to put themselves into the situation of the content. Using the quote will give the reader an idea about what the book is about and can go deeper into the quote to make sure the message is getting across to the reader. Statistics can be used either very specifically, like 9 out of 10 agree, or giving the reader a lead into what the topic is and know that the claims in the hook will be discussed. And finally, the antidote, which is what is usually used for fiction authors, and think of it like a short story about the book. Authors of fiction can use any of these types of hooks, but it can take some experimentation to see what will work for both the author's writing style and the type of book, plus where you are using it. Sometimes there are word or letter or character limits, and that is what a hook is. This week in publishing news, one of the big topics right now that everyone seems to be talking about is AI, or the use of artificial intelligence to create content. This can go from TikTok filters to programs that will write a full article. And the machine learning has advanced greatly and is getting a lot of use. While I personally think that the tech is really cool, it is also very scary. If the AI gets smart enough, will it put creators out of work because the new art, be it written, visual, or audio, could be created with a few keystrokes and not hours or days worth of creative work being done by the artist? Another aspect of all the AI buzz is how the AI is learning. They take samples of works that have been already created and extrapolates from there. Now, this sounds cool, and it is, but it's the artists whose work that is being used to teach the computer. They're not always informed or compensated for the use of their works. While this isn't exactly a copyright violation, sometimes in some of the visual ones, the artist's signature shows up and they had no idea that their work was used to create this. The AI generated the art, and does this dilute art as a whole because a computer is doing this work? CNET announced that they were going to pause using AI to write their articles. Yes, a major news organization has been using AI to write their articles, and the only way a reader would know was to read the fine print on a very small disclosure statement. Once that disclosure statement became news, CNET halted the practice for now. And CNET is not the only one who quietly announced that they had ceased to use AI to create content. Bankrate and creditcards.com also came clean with their former practice of creating content. While the use of AI to create content is something that is becoming part of our lives, we need to make sure that it is done responsibly for both the creator of the content used to teach the AI and the consumers to know that the content is AI created and let them choose to consume the content or not. This is only the beginning on this topic, and it will be interesting to see how AI will become part of our daily lives in the future. Now it's time for my personal update. Things have been very interesting the last 2 weeks because I had jury duty. Yay! Normally, where I live, it's a one-day thing where you sit in jury management in the pool in the basement of the courthouse waiting to get called up. I was prepared to do just that for one day of service. Sit there, use their Wi-Fi, and get some work done. And make a whole $5 for doing so. But this time, I was part of a multi-day jury selection process. While it was a study in hurry up and wait, it was interesting to see how the process in our judicial system works, and I was ready to serve if I was selected, but not thrilled that it was going to be at least 10 weeks long. I now count myself very fortunate that I was let go a week into the process, and now I'm back to life as normal. But while I was on jury duty, I woke up one morning to an attack on my personal Facebook account. I got it locked down, and things should be okay in a few days, but it has been annoying to wait for the process needed to unlock it. While the account is locked, I can't run ads or post to my professional pages, so this adds to my frustration. I can't post to Facebook, but I can get on Instagram, so at least that's something. I do count myself lucky that it happened while I was on jury duty, because when you're in court, you can't have your phones out at all. This kept me from trying to log in too often and slowing down the process. Hopefully, by the next show, it'll be back up and running, but please, please, please keep your fingers crossed for me. I am doing some new things with recording for both this show and for the audiobooks. I want to thank my dad for the audio lessons and for hooking me up with some much needed equipment like a second monitor and the wireless keyboard. So thanks, Dad. I really appreciate it. And that was the last couple weeks for me.
This was The Author's Lighthouse, a Fireball Studio production. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Author's Lighthouse. And if you like the show, leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform. It really helps get the show discovered. And also don't forget to subscribe. If you have a topic you would like to suggest for a future episode, email it to Karen@theauthorslighthouse.com. If you liked this episode and want to hear more, please support the show at patreon.com/authorslighthouse. patreon.com/authors lighthouse. That's patreon.com/authors lighthouse. Every bit helps support the show. This was The Author's Lighthouse, a Fireball Studio production. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Author's Lighthouse and on Twitter at AuthorsLH. And if you like the show, subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps get the show discovered. If you have a topic you would like to suggest for a future episode, email it to Karen@theauthorslighthouse.com. That's Karen at theauthorslighthouse.com. And if you really like this story and want to help more, please support the show at patreon.com/authors lighthouse. That's patreon.com/authors lighthouse. Every little bit helps support the show, and thank you.